Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? I'm just checking the volume. Okay.
I met three others, but that video was two blacks and a young guy when I was here last time.
Where are Chandler?
Angel's not going to be here.
What about Mr.
So I can't answer that.
What about Mr. Smith? So it is kind of.
I met him last time.
Sir, you're certain there's nobody here.
There's not the team that
Yeah, I've been here before. I walked into a bad board first time I walked in.
Okay, I was just told that. Are we live? Streaming this way? So, all the more reason to take the new election. All right. Most of it's
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got about one more minute, but we're still waiting on one more board member to arrive before we have a quorum, so we can start. So if you please, bear with us. Go ahead and shut your phones off, put them on silent, whatever. And we'll get started shortly. I'll go, we'll talk about everything before we get started, and we'll go from there. So, just a few more minutes.
Let's go. Let me call him.
Yeah, I'm with you. Same thing. How's that?
You just, I'm not sure.
I'm not recovered either, bro. What did you do?
89 through 92.
It's the same time I was.
Where were you?
I was in the Marine Corps. 88 to 90. I was on the West Coast. San Francisco, 7 years, 2 years in LA, and San Diego.
Okay, great. What did you do for the Marine Corps?
Flight engineer, helicopter guy.
Oh, where? That's awesome.
That's where I was at. Helicopter expert.
So you were at HIA? You were up at HIA?
Yeah.
What were you doing up there?
Hey, looking.
Just looking.
Looking. Man, there's so much stuff up there. You want to see something?
That's mine.
Real. Man, you talking about there? Got an APU on it. Yeah, that's the edge. Hell yeah.
That's where was he?
Yeah, because I remember you and I talked about it. I was standing out front of the airman and saying,
Mark called me last week. He said, "Hey, you want to go to HIA?"
hang out. Yeah, I know Mark really well.
Hey, Miss Patricia.
Huh? Yeah. Yeah. We do. Hey, but it's just us three. Again, say,
Here's your working agenda. You have a working agenda?
I had brought mine.
Okay, because I was calling her. I called her like 3 times.
I guess I can lift in.
The microphone's on.
Come on over. We're not screaming at each other.
Yeah.
You want me to give them a spiel? What is it, 3 minutes? We all got all the sign-in sheets, you got them?
Yep.
Yes.
We got it.
All right. All right. Good evening. My name's Rob Purefoy. We're starting the Board of Zoning and Appeals for March 8, 2023. Like I said, everybody please silence your cell phones and all that. If you have to discuss something, please take it outside. If you're on the list to speak, you'll have 3 minutes when you get to the podium. No outburst, no back and forth. When you're at the podium, that's the only time you should be talking. And we'll do our best to try to keep everything flowing the way it's supposed to. So please bear with us. We'll get through it. And all right, we'll start. All right.
So we'll start with the election of.
I think that we're gonna wait until next month.
Okay, so it's tabling that.
Yep, that's not on the agenda.
Yeah, I'll,
It's on there.
yeah,
It
that's
didn't
right.
make it.
Perfect.
It didn't make it to the work
Go ahead,
agenda.
They can table it, that'll work.
Yeah, go ahead. You can go ahead and make a motion to table.
Okay. The first order of business is the election for our board. We're missing a couple members this evening, so we're going to table that until next month's meeting.
If you would get a motion to table in a second and then vote for that, please, sir. So moved.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor to table it, please raise your hand. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. You got it, Steve? All right.
All right, for public hearing this evening, the first item for the agenda is lift from the table application 2303S Minerva Spring Lake LLP owner, 2336 Teeman Road, approximately 99.214 acres located in land lot 231 and 232 in the 3rd Land Lot District. The applicant is requesting a special exception to allow cluster dwellings, single-family detached houses with open space with the traditional design within the R2 single-family residential district.
All right.
Before you proceed, I think you need a motion to amend the agenda because there are 2 variance applications for the Minerva Spring Lake property. One is 2304V, which deals with cul-de-sac, and the other is 2305V, which deals with setbacks.
That was fixed yesterday.
I'm sorry?
That was fixed yesterday.
Oh, okay, so I've got an older.
Yeah, you
agenda.
have an older
Okay,
agenda.
Thank you, sorry.
Mr. Chairman, can you turn up the mic?
We will do our best.
It's hard to hear you back here.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Yep.
And if the members would please pull your mics a little closer, it makes it a lot easier for for those in the audience to hear and those who are viewing online.
How about that? Is that better? All right.
Mr. Chairman, you need to have a motion to table on each of these applications. To lift from the table, I'm sorry.
Make a motion to lift application 23-03S from the table.
A second.
Second. All in favor? Table. Right.
Ayes.
Mr. Galloway, were you indicating that we needed to lift from the table as well 2304 Victor, which is the Minerva Spring LLP owner, 236 Teeman Road, for the variance to reduce the minimum cul-de-sac as well?
Correct.
Correct.
All right.
All three of them. Weren't all three of them on the table?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I only have two on my agenda.
We only have two, one for the cul-de-sac and the special exemption.
Okay, but there was also, Eva, a variance application for setbacks, which had been designated 2305V.
From my understanding, that was withdrawn. Was that incorrect?
That's incorrect. The portions of the variances may not be required, but the application is still pending.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we would need a motion on the table to add that to
Add
the
to
agenda
agenda.
this
That's
evening,
correct. That's what
as
I was
well
saying.
as
I
lift
was-
all
I-
three from the agenda.
Correct.
Yes.
All right? So we have the motion in the second with a 3-0 vote for lifting 2303S. We would need a second motion for 2304 Victor and a third motion for 2305 Sierra
You need to
for,
have a motion on that one to amend the agenda to make certain it's included, even though it was left on the table from last month.
thank you, Mr. Galloway. Mr. Purfoy, those are the motions that we will need this evening.
So the next one would be a motion to lift 2304V.
Correct. I make a motion to lift 2304 Victor from the table.
A second.
All right, all in favor?
Ayes.
And I'll make a motion that we live 2305.
You need to make a motion first to amend the agenda to include it.
Okay,
And then
To include 5.
okay.
5V.
05V.
Can that be done at one time?
No, sir, it
No.
has to be two
It would
separate.
It has to be
better
two
do
separate
it
motions.
With separate motions, Mr. Harding.
Okay. Then I make a motion that 2305 Sierra be added to the agenda.
2305B Bravo.
V as in Victor.
I think it was.
Victor.
Yes.
Okay, so 2305B Victor? All
V
right.
Victor.
2305.
And where would you like to place that, Mr. Doug?
On the agenda.
Which, do you want it to be in line with 1 and 2? So it would be 2B on the agenda?
Too big would be.
Yeah,
better.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That'll work? All right. So you have a motion on the table, you need a second and a
All
vote
right,
for
we have a
adding the
second.
agenda.
I second.
All in favor, please? All right,
All right, now you need a motion to lift it from the table.
okay.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
All right, and it's now on the agenda.
Thank you much.
And now you need, that was on the table.
And now it's on the
That's
Now
agenda.
you need a motion to lift it from the table.
They did.
They
had-
just
We
did
already
that.
did.
They
Oh, I'm
they amended
sorry.
the agenda and then added it to the agenda and then lifted it from the table.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the agenda from yesterday to see if I'd made an error.
Folks, please bear with us. We're getting through, we'll get through it.
We'll get through it.
Promise you. All right,
Now you're at number 1.
Now we're back on number 1.
now we're back in order.
Yes,
Yes.
now we're back in order. So this is for consideration of the board, application 2303S Sierra, Minerva Spring Lake LLP, owner 2336 Teeman Road, approximately 99.214 acres, located in land lot 231 and 232 in the 3rd Land District. The applicant is requesting a special exception to allow cluster dwellings, single-family detached houses with open space with a traditional design within the R2 Single Family Residential District.
The applicant is here present, if you would like to call him forward.
Mr. Chairman, if I could intervene again and not make a bigger mess, I would recommend that you consolidate these for hearing, but then vote on them separately. There's no reason to have 3 separate presentations on these applications.
I completely agree. Make a motion to combine,
1, 2, and 2B.
yeah, 1, 2, and 2B, and as one, and we'll vote separately at the completion.
I second.
Second. All in favor?
Ayes.
There we go.
All right.
Now all three.
All right, number 2 is 2304V Victor, Minerva Spring Lake LLP, owner 2336 Teeman Road, approximately 99.214 acres, located in land lot 231 and 232 in the, in the 3rd Land District. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum cul-de-sac diameter from the required minimum of 120 feet to a proposed diameter of 100 feet within the R2 Single Family Residential District. And 2B is it's a variance application 2305 Victor, Minerva Spring Lake LLP, 2336 Teeman Road. They're asking for a variance to reduce the minimum front, side, and corner setbacks. Minimum front yard setback of 25 feet, minimum side yard setback 0 to 15 feet, and minimum corner side yard setback at 35 feet. I believe that's all of it. Those are the 3 that are under consideration.
All right, so we have the applicants here. Brian.
Yes, Mr. Brian Davidson. If you would, please, sir, if you'll state your name and your address for the record.
Sure. How's that, everybody? Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Brian Davison of Minerva USA, 2292 Henderson Mill Road, Atlanta.
All right, sir.
Yes, sir.
Shall I? Okay, great. Our application, I think we'll just go through a quick slideshow for you here in a second. Is there any way I can drive it, or do I have to tell you to go forward? Okay, great. You got it. Okay, so this just summarizes what was just discussed. This is a property that we bought a bit more than 20 years ago as part of the original assemblage. It ended up not being part of Sun City because of being on the other side of the road, on the opposite side of Smoke Road. Way back when we had it, the property was zoned R2 with a special exception at the time for 1 acre lots because there was only septic there. This is the current zoning that's in place. It's minimum 1,750 square foot homes with no rental restrictions on it. What we're proposing to do now, as of last year, the property is now sewered and ties into the community services sewer facility. Now that it's sewered and the county has redone its long-term land use plan designating the area for residential in the 1 to 4 unit per acre density, we're proposing to change the addendum to the zoning to call it cluster dwellings, which is a bit of a misnomer, but it's the category name in the zoning. It's not actually cluster houses, it's individual detached houses. So traditional type residential. That zoning category has a minimum of 2,000 square foot homes, and we have it's been requested in the county's staff report that we put a rental cap on it. They asked if we were looking to make it a rental community. We said no, and they asked if we were willing to accept a cap on rentals of 10%, which we're fine with. And that's good. And if we could flip to the next. Just a quick bit on Minerva. Some of you know us in Spalding. We've developed a fair bit in Spalding. We're a company, I'm one of the 2 partners, have been for 30 years now. We do a wide range of different projects, a lot of residential development, master plan communities, multifamily. We were one of the large equity funders behind Post Properties for many years. A lot of industrial. We're a significant portion of the equity with Robinson Weeks, who are doing the Fort Gillem industrial redevelopment. A lot of shopping centers, Publix and Kroger centers, et cetera, et cetera. And land development we've been doing basically since about 1992. Thank you. Just a range of different things that we do. You see Sun City in the bottom left corner. We were the master developer originally of Sun City. We bought the land, worked with Pulte Del Webb. We worked with them building the first amenities golf course and the first 700 lots or so. And since then, Pulte has bought the remainder of the project from us. We still have some scattered pieces of land left around Sun City. Other things, apartments, urban redevelopment, senior housing, that sort of thing. Thank you. All right, so zoning in on the property here, the property we're talking about is the one in green, and you can see it in relation to Sun City and Heron Bay's up there as well, I guess. On the north side is Tiemann Road. It also fronts on Smoke Road, although we don't propose an entrance on Smoke. Okay, next. And there it is a little closer. So you can see the relation to the new pods that are being built across the road in Sun City. And to the south is the Roosevelt Trail rail. Next. And this helps you with the zoning. You can see Sun City's got its own unique zoning, AAR, which was designed at the time to allow the smaller lots that are in Sun City. Basically, that whole corridor along Tiemann Road is zoned R2, and we have the special exception from an original earlier zoning. Next. It's in the new land use plan. It's called the Sun City Heron Bay Character Area. And the next page, please. Basically, the character area calls for a density of 1 to 4 dwelling units per acre through this area. The big limiting factor for that will be sewer, which is a totally different topic. A Minerva affiliated company is also the owner of the sewer facility, and it only has a certain amount of capacity. So when it hits a limit, then it'll be up to the county thereafter to provide sewer to expand any future growth in the area. And next, please. And here's the site plan. Okay, so that's the layout of the plan. This plan right now, that shows 343 lots. One of the staff conditions was to keep the zoning density to a maximum of 3 units per acre, which we're okay with. That would cap it at 295, so there'd be almost 50 lots removed from this. Minimum space requirements, trails, central amenities. And you can also notice in the top right corner is a site that we made a promise to the prior county manager, I would say 15 years ago, that when we developed this property, we would donate that site for a fire station. And I believe as recently as a few months ago, their plan is to actually construct one here. And I think that will help with the fire insurance ratings and hopefully lower insurance rates for everybody in the area. And next, please. And then quickly on the fire station, that's where it's located. And next one. And you can see how it works. If there's actually a fire in the community, they'll have direct access straight in from the fire station. But it's a footprint that the county's already built in another location. I think the next photo shows it.
Go back.
There you go, back one. Yeah, we were just asked to mirror that same design. So that's what we've done. And that would be I assume, I hadn't thought about it actually in the zoning, but that the zoning would actually allow the fire station as well. Okay, and next. And then housing in here. So the proposed housing, the range of houses is a series of plans from about 2,000 square feet to about 2,850 square feet. And if you can sort of maybe slowly, they're a little distorted here, guys. I think the screen has shrunk a little bit. It's actually a little wider and not quite as tall as these, but this will do the trick anyway. If you could flip through a few just to show you some different.
Oh, slowly.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. They're wider and not quite as tall. I think the photographs are distorting a bit here. Okay. So mix of homes. Some will have master on the main. Some will be bedrooms up. And yeah, I think the concept is basically to build fairly high quality new housing. It'll complement the area. A lot of stuff that's been built around the county over the years has not been the greatest quality. Most of the projects that we've been involved with have ended up with with good quality housing, and neighboring Sun City being one of them. And we just hope to continue the trend and add some more housing for people in Spalding. And yeah, that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
All right. Any questions from the board?
Yes, I have one. Since rentals are such a big concern, how do you propose to keep the rental cap at 10%?
Right. We
And
do.
also,
Oh,
what
sorry.
level of housing are we talking about? What level of rental are you talking about here?
Yeah, so we always have to allow rental because there's always people that, you know, they move out of town, or, you know, we have military people will get posted and they need to rent their house, or somebody will move and keep it, or that sort of thing. What the common thing that's happening now around the city is what they call build-to-rent communities, where an entire neighborhood like this is 100% rentals. One company owns it, and it's basically like a huge apartment project. They can be done well or they can be done poorly. You never really know. What we get this sort of a request for a limitation on our zonings a lot, and basically you control it with the homeowners association. So one of your requirements in the conditions is that we place a mandatory homeowner association on the property, and that has a recorded cap of 10% rental.
Okay.
And then basically the HOA manages it. So it's first come, first serve. So if you live in the neighborhood and you want to rent your house, you ask for a rental permit. And in this case, if we end up at, I don't, if it's 295, that's 29 houses. So the first 29 would be granted, and then the 30th person would be told no. And then they wait on the list until one of the rentals comes off market.
Okay.
So, and then the rental concept changes hands when a new buyer owns it. So if you own it and you're renting it and then you sell the house, you lose the rental. So it's not like you buy a house, it's not like you buy it as an investment and you can rent it forever.
Okay.
It's intended to be sort of an emergency stop for people that already live there.
But you do not have a 10% area that's going to be strictly rental or anything?
No.
Okay.
It'll end up, if you go through most neighborhoods here, there's scattered rentals through them all. They all vary. I'm sure there's probably some in Sun City. There's probably some, I know there's a fair amount in Heron Bay, I know. The key is that the HOA is strong and manages the exterior maintenance and cares for them, and you can't tell. The problem you have is if you have absentee landlords and an association that doesn't crack down on them. That's
Okay.
the big problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got any other questions?
Uh,
I've got
No.
one myself. Says something about the sewer, that you guys, the company owns it, right? The sewer plant or whatever, and then once it reaches its capacity, then who takes over?
Yeah, so the owner of the sewer plant is a company called Community Services, which is actually a Minerva-owned company as well. We own it, and then the trustee of the sewer plant is the Spalding County Water Authority. And so it's basically set up, when the EPD gave us the permit 15 or 20 years ago, they want to know that if we ever fail as the operator, that there's somebody reputable to step in and take over control right away. So that's the role the county has. And then the county in turn has set a bunch of mandates with us. We have to place a certain amount of cash each year into a maintenance reserve account, because if they ever had to take the plant over from us, they don't want to be bankrupt as well. They want to make sure there's funds there to maintain it. And so they had an issue before our time, I'd say 30 years ago, when they took over one of the textile plants that was poorly maintained, deteriorated, and it costed the county an absolute fortune. So, and then from the capacity point of view, right now the plant's built to 275,000 gallons per day. There's an expansion that was just approved a few weeks ago to double that. The ultimate permit is for, after the safety factor, 1.35 million gallons. So still a huge amount of capacity left. So we have a series of priorities. So we've allocated capacity to properties that have requested it. There's still available capacity, but it would be in the third phase of development. So we have the ability with this new expansion that we have to fund this project. But there's a neighboring property that I probably shouldn't say their name here, but it's abutting Sun City that we will provide sewer to, but at this point, they have to wait until we have the available capacity to serve them.
I understood. I was just
Yeah.
making sure it wasn't a.
Yeah, no,
obligation or-
and the number one priority obviously is Sun City. They were the first ones that we built the plant specifically for, so they locked up the first capacity for every house in Sun City.
All right, yeah, I was just
Yeah,
wondering if the whole 295 would be covered.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah, we did a major expansion. We spent $3.5 million. That company did about a year ago, building a force main and a pump station all the way over to serve the Heron Bay Basin, north of the Tawaliga. But coming out of the lift station in Sun City, there's a connection that ends actually on this property, and so just gravity flow. So this property ties in easily to that. Everything else east of us on Tiemann Road can't tie in because it's a force main, not a, so you can't tie in again until you get north of the Tawaliga Reservoir.
understood.
I mean, Tawaliga River, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. I actually have a map of that. I think it's a few slides later. If you wanted to see it, let me know, and I'm happy to walk you
No,
through it.
thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Nothing.
I believe you got a staff report.
Let's go ahead and have the public speak, whoever
Right,
signed up.
that'll work.
Thank you.
Michelle Drugaz.
Good evening, Michelle Drugaz, 312 Whispering Pines Way, Griffin, Georgia, Sun City Peachtree. Good evening, Zoning Board. Good evening, County Manager. What Minerva Spring Lake LP is proposing with the special exception application number 23035 and the two separate variance requests, 23-04 Victor and 23-05 Victor for cluster dwellings. They're asking for the reduced front and side yard setbacks along with reduced cul-de-sac diameters. This does not match up with neighboring properties or developments. The goal of the current R2 zoning is to preserve quiet, relatively low to medium density neighborhoods. Minerva's application for the special exception is so that now they can put 295 homes on single-family homes, but this is us on a 99-acre parcel of land. This does not match the rural feel of Spalding County. R2 zoning states that lot size exceed 20,000 square feet. Minerva Spring Lake LP is applying for the special exception to change the lot size. It was 6,000 square feet. Now they're doing 3 units per acre. That's still a lot of 3 houses on just an acre of land. People want to reside in Spalding County because of the rural feel. They do not want their homes to be right on top of another home. They want their privacy. And this application does not provide information on the elevation of the homes, the material the homes will be built of, or the price range of these homes. They compare this development to the villas at Heron Bay, but the villas at Heron Bay, which is a cluster street, is a 55 and older section of the development. It consists of one street with 60 homes, and those are valued from $300,000 to $400,000 each. Minerva is requesting to build those 295 homes right on top of each other. It's unacceptable for the residents who already reside near the proposed development site, including Sun City Peachtree. The homes in any developing neighborhood neighboring Sun City Peachtree should be comparable size and value. Anything less would have a negative effect on the home values in the area. They have not compared this proposed development to Big Pine, which will have 12,000 to 15,000 square foot lots. That's going to be right next door to this development too. With this proposed high-density development and the Big Pines development on Spoke Road with 247 homes, has there been a feasibility study on the impact of adding 2,000 or more cars traveling on Tiemann Road? The zoning board should follow the current R2 zoning and make sure that they are following the goal of Spalding County to raise the bar and to keep Spalding County a rural county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lawrence Weeks.
Yes, I'm opposition to this.
Sir.
If
Yes.
you'll state your name and your address, please,
My
sir.
name is Lawrence Weeks. I live at 2966 Tiemann Road.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
My opposition is this. is when you take out the streets, you take out 2 parks, you take out cemeteries, you take out the back Roosevelt Railroad. And before they can't change the count on me, it comes to less than 0.2 of an acre per house. And they've got 34 houses according to their map. It backs up to my property line. I want to know how far off the property line they're gonna keep their houses. Is it gonna be 5 feet, 10 feet? And the people that live on Teeman Road, the houses, if they back up to the road, there'll be about 20 backing up to Teeman Road down through there.
Yes, sir.
If you want to see this type housing, you go up to Lovejoy and look across from the liquor store and look at that mess. And on the back of that property, there's a ravine. And I've got a little stream that runs across it. Only way they're gonna get the houses in some of those places is to fill in that ravine and fill up my stream. My land line goes straight down the middle of that stream.
Yes, sir.
It's gonna change the floodplain on my land. All my land is out of a 100-year floodplain, but it's gonna put it back in it.
Yes, sir.
But we went through this, I've been through this before with Minerva over there at Sun City. It started out, it was gonna be a lake community, then it was gonna be a golf community, then it was gonna be a lake community, and then it finally ended up being a golf community. But they should tell us the whole facts before it gets started. And I was told, I sat in meetings, and I was told in the meetings that Teeman Road would be changed. There was a guy from the state sitting as a prop. I went over and talked to him. He says, the state's never gonna do anything about that road, but they use him for a prop. But I'm objecting to it. I've moved down here to get away from that. You're gonna end up with South DeKalb County down here, or Clayton County.
Yes, sir.
And these people you put in here, you're going to end up with, they no telling what you're going to end up with. If it's families, you're going to end up, you see how small the streets and stuff are. You're going to have family with teenagers. Some people will have 4 and 5 cars.
Yes, sir. Mr. Meeks, thank you. That,
It's weeks.
weeks, I'm sorry. I wrote it down wrong.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bob Byer?
My name is Bob Byer, 516 Orchid Lights Court. I live in Sun City. I'd like to speak in favor of these variances. I would like to speak in favor of the development that is under consideration. Several reasons. One, the new homes will add greatly to the tax base of the county, helping to keep our property taxes in Sun City under better control. The new population from this subdivision will help support the adding of retail to the Sun City Teeman Road area. Also, the donation of land for a fire department will add a fire station right at the entrance to Sun City, something that is a great improvement to what we have now. It takes 8 to 10 minutes for a fire truck to get into Sun City. There have been some comments about the size of the houses. They are comparable to what's in Sun City. The lot sizes are similar to what's in Sun City. So it's not going to be low-income, substandard housing. This is just going to be a very pleasant development, allowing for a population expansion into Spalding County, which is something that's inevitable. I was one of 24 Spalding residents that sat on the comp plan, the comprehensive plan reexamination that's done every 5 years. In the northeast corridor, or the northeast section of Spalding County is where the population growth is going to occur, primarily because of the sewage plant that Minerva has provided in Sun City. Right now, I talked to the sewage plant manager, and Sun City currently uses only 15% of the total capacity that's available. So there's plenty of additional capacity available for even further development along Tiemann Road, 155, and Jordan Hill.
Yes, sir.
And I would like you to give a very positive consideration to the variance requests. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Rosser?
Hello, my name is Elton Rosser. I represent the Roosevelt Railroad as the general manager, 3030 Tiemann Road. First, I'm just kind of disheartened just a little bit because I talked to Mr. Davidson earlier, and we explained what the railroad was, and then when he came up here and mentioned the railroad, he called it a rail trail. Now, this is a railroad. We own the railroad. It's been owned since 137 years. This railroad's been there. We bought it from Norfolk Southern. It goes from the big trestle on Tiemann Road, and it snakes its way all the way in Experiment, where it comes in with Norfolk Southern. We're not really opposed to anything. We want to get along with everybody along the right-of-way. But at the same time, we don't want them right up on us. I mean, Sun City's got 300 foot, we've measured it, of what they call undisturbed area between our property and theirs.
Yes, sir.
And we would like the same thing. If they can't do any setbacks, which we would like, at least have a fence where people aren't running down the railroad tracks. I mean, this is pretty close. And then for them just, they're obviously not considering this calling this a rail trail. I mean, it's not a rail trail. No, if y'all got any questions about us or the railroad, let me know. But it has been growed up. We had some movie people come out and TV station, Walking Dead and things like that, do some filming. They asked us to let it grow up. We're cleaning it back up now, fixing to open it back up for train use. But if anybody's got anything otherwise, I just want to say that we're not opposing growth. We just want to get it off us a little bit. Just don't be right up on the tracks. This has a backyard right on our property line. That's not good.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
No, thank you.
Mr. Davidson, I believe you have signed up for speaking. Did you want to speak?
I didn't know the process.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Steve Matthews?
Steve Matthews, 520 Hosanna. I have a farm at 2337 Tiemann Road. My family has been farming since the 1940s, and my opposition is mainly the traffic and doing away with the rural characteristics. There's so much traffic now, I can hardly cross the road with my equipment, and my mother lives at 2334. She's elderly, and there's so much traffic now, she can't hardly cross the road to get her mail. And so that's my main opposition, is what it's doing to the county.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, that's all that have signed up for this case this evening.
All right. Staff?
All right, if you would like, I'll go ahead and start on the staff report. So, hold on, I was ready. Right behind it. Okay. So the applicant is requesting a special exemption in variance applications to seek a residential subdivision on the subject property to be known as Tiemann Point, consisting right now as 343 detached residential dwellings. The special exemption seeks approval of the subdivision to be developed with a cluster dwelling pursuant of UDO Section 83B3 as traditional design subdivision. The minimum proposed lot size is 600 square feet. A little history on this lot. The subject property was initially proposed as a subdivision consisting of 56 single-family lots in 2005. The subject was rezoned R2 at that time. The developer, Buffington Villages LLC, obtained a approval subdivision, special exemption subdivision to construct the subdivision. Minerva acquired it from Buffington Villages LLC in 2006, and no development has occurred on the property despite the special exemption and preliminary plat approval at that time. The comprehensive plan access public sewer, so it does conform with the comprehensive plan. And the proposed development on the subject property will provide an aesthetics and an enhancement to the area. And prior to consideration by the Board of Appeals, staff and representatives of the property owner reviewed the development and discussed the modifications of the proposed subdivision layout shown on the zoning plans for Teeman Point, prepared by Christopher Planning and Engineering back on November 22 of 2022. Based thereon, staff recommends conditional approval. There is an extensive list of conditions that we are proposing, and the applicant is aware to them and he has agreed. And if you would like, I can touch on the variances, unless you have any questions on the special exemption application.
Eva, let me add a little bit.
Okay.
You have basically two special exception requests in one application. One is for the cluster dwellings on 6,000 square foot lots, and the other is for criteria under the traditional neighborhood subdivision criteria. And what that does is it takes and adds in aesthetic requirements and design requirements for the subdivision in addition to just having the blanket for the cluster homes. Is my microphone on? Okay, I will start over again. We had a problem with this microphone last week. All right. What I said was, you actually have one special exception which has two parts. The first special exception is for cluster homes as we define it, and in the staff report you have our definition in the zoning ordinance for a cluster home to be located on 6,000 square foot lots. In addition to that, they have asked for a special exception to approve what is called a traditional subdivision. That imposes certain criteria regarding architectural design and subdivision layout, and you can see on page 4 of the staff report the criteria for those traditional design houses. Now, as Ms. Morales said, we have recommended approval. Eva, I think we probably need to read the proposed conditions for the folks who are here.
Okay.
And these were developed following a meeting with Minerva to get the plan that they presented modified. The first condition is the subdivision will have a net density of development not to exceed 3 dwellings per 1 acre, which is consistent with what the comp plan provides for sewered properties. That would mean the total number of residential lots shall not exceed 295, which is a reduction of 48 lots from the plan originally proposed. Condition C, the minimum house size for all residential dwellings shall be 2,000 square feet. D, the subdivision shall be limited to the traditional design and shall comply with all development and design requirements set forth in UDO Section 413 G double prime 2A. No vinyl siding shall be used on the exterior of any dwelling. Prior to approval of a final plat, the developer shall present proposed documents to create a homeowners association for the development. Prior to approval of a final plat, the developer shall present restrictive covenants which restrict the rental of dwellings to 10% of the total dwellings in the subdivision based on the number of units constructed at the time. And Mr. Hardwick, to answer your question, that is about the extent of the authority the county can exercise on rental restrictions.
And the rest of it handled by the HOA from that point.
We have to rely on the HOA, and to be candid, this county has had a mixed bag of results dealing with HOAs, but it is the only available option we have to deal with rental property. H, the proposed elevations for dwellings to be built in the subdivision will provide appropriate aesthetic and architectural and aesthetics design requirements which shall be made a condition of rezoning. Prior to the hearing conducted on the application before the Board of Commissioners, the developer shall consult with Spalding County Public Works Department to assess whether improvements to Teeman and Smoke roads will be required as a result of the development on the subject property, and the degree to which contribution from the developer should be imposed. J, as required by UDO Section 413, G double prime 2A IV 2. The developer shall reserve space at the entrance into the subdivision from both Teeman and Smoke roads, if an entry is developed on Smoke, for a landscaped entry with appropriate signage designating the subdivision commensurate with design, architecture, and aesthetic character of the subdivision, and shall provide plans for review and approval of such signage by the Board of Commissioners. That is required for this type of subdivision. K, and this is something that hadn't been discussed, but you need to be aware of it. There is a cemetery on the property that is governed by a specific statute in Georgia law, which deals with abandoned cemeteries at OCGA, Official Code of Georgia Annotated, Section 3672-1 and following. The Board of Commissioners must conduct a hearing on the Bryce Strickland Cemetery located on the subject property, which shall review the report of R.S. Webb and Associates dated April 15, 2003, and the developer's compliance with OCGA 3672-1. That is mandatory, and that hearing will be held simultaneously with BOC's hearing on the special exception. Finally, the conditions imposed on the development of the subject property shall continue to apply to it in the event of transfer to a third party or a successor developer. And we expect, as is often the case, these properties get approval, and then they are then sold or transferred to a third party, which is their right to do so, but we want to make certain that that third party is aware of what they've got to do and that these conditions carry forward to them. And Eva, let's move on now to the two variances.
All right, variance application 230V Victor. The applicant is proposing a reduction of the minimum cul-de-sac diameter of the residential cul-de-sac diameter to 100 feet. The basis of the request is that the cul-de-sac have the same diameter approved on Heron Bay. Applicant proposes the same condition that was imposed on Heron Bay. The pavement width in each cul-de-sac should be maintained at a minimum of 80 feet in diameter. The applicant's variance request is based on the desire to develop a more coherent and cohesive community with an emphasis on encouraging neighborhood integrity, walkability, and sidewalk access. We are also recommending a conditional approval of the variance based on the unique conditions required for this development, with one condition, and that condition is the pavement width in each cul-de-sac shall be maintained at a minimum of 80 feet in diameter.
Eva, would you update the board on what we learned today regarding the fire access requirements for the cul-de-sac, because that will require some revision to the
Yes.
recommendation?
So, board member Mr. Hardwick reached out to me and wanted to know what the fire department thoughts were on the diameter. I reached out to the fire marshal, and he sent me out a code section of the 2018 International Fire Code, which under Appendix D, Fire Apparatus Access Roads, states that the diameter for a cul-de-sac should be 96 feet in diameter.
So we would ask that you consider the staff report amended to comply with this fire code regulation so that the variance would be recommended for approval, but to 96, not to 80 feet.
Does that require a motion, Mr.?
You can put it, Mr. Hardwick, if y'all make a motion to approve, that can be part of your motion, and not just accept the staff recommendation as it is written.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and I'll move on to.
You would move on to the next
one.
setback variances.
Variance application 2305B as in Victor. Applicants requesting a variance from 3 development criteria required in the UDO section 803B and O. the UDO section B03B3E3, front yard setback is a minimum of 25 feet. For the side yard is a setback of 15. And with lots with multiple frontage lots, side corner lot setback will be 35 feet with sewer. The variance request that the applicant submitted is requesting for a yard setback of 20 feet, front yard setback, excuse me, of 20 feet, a side yard setback of 80 feet, and a side corner lot setback of 10 feet. Like the request of the variance on cul-de-sac diameter, applicant request is based on its desire to create a more cohesive, walkable community. To the end, applicant proposes several conditions. Staff recommends also conditional approval on this based on 6 conditions, and they read as follows. Garage entrance shall be a minimum of 20 feet from the sidewalk edge. Condition number 2, front and side yards will be sodded. Number 3, rear yards will be sodded on those lots that abut subdivision amenity areas. 4, no vinyl siding shall be used on the exterior of any dwelling. In addition to landscaping required by the UDO section 413G2A3, street trees shall be required on both sides of all street, planted at 50 feet intervals, to each minimum caliber. And lastly, number 6, in addition to the foundation requirements in UDO section 413G2I2D, exposed concrete foundations will not be permitted.
Do you have any questions on the staff report or recommendations?
Have any questions of the staff? I've actually got a couple.
Okay.
Said, no entry on smoke. I thought I heard you say that there's possible entries on smoke.
What we said was that if there is an entry ultimately proposed on smoke, then the developer needs to meet with Public Works and identify what impact that would have on Smoke Road to determine whether improvements would be required.
And second question, how big is the cemetery?
It is, do you have the cemetery?
I don't have it in the flash drive. I can go.
It's a small family cemetery, which is identified in the report that we referenced, and that report dates from 2003, when they were just looking at the development of that property. And it provides the confines of the cemetery, and that is one of the requirements that you have to have under state law. You have to have an archaeologist go out and identify where the graves in the abandoned cemetery are located and the boundaries of the abandoned cemetery. But as a general rule, and people are not aware of this so much, we have cemeteries located on private property throughout the county. And what Georgia law requires is if there is development on a tract that contains that cemetery, they have to do this study, and they have to comply with the requirements to delineate, and then they have to have a hearing on the cemetery in front of the Board of Commissioners. Now, that does not mean the development ceases. It means the development has to be done around the confines of the cemetery, and the cemetery has to be protected.
Is that in the present confines of the cemetery, or does that include some expansion of it?
I'm sorry, Mr. Harvard,
Would it be set with is usually set with the confines of the present cemetery?
Yes.
Or is there room to put other graves there later?
the statute requires delineation of the cemetery boundary.
Okay.
The statute does not tell you what happens to the cemetery itself after it has been delineated. Meaning, and here's the reason we say that, hopefully, and we've got this issue in another part of the county where we're trying to get a church to take over responsibility for the cemetery. The
Okay.
developer's only responsibility is to delineate and do his development, its development around the cemetery so that graves of people who are interred there are not disturbed.
Okay.
And to answer, the size of the cemetery is approximately 0.46 acres.
Okay.
Okay.
One final comment, if there are no other questions. The difference between this property now versus when it was first approved in 2006, or 2005 rather, is the presence of sewer. And a comp plan that tells us what development is permitted where there is sewer access.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Other staff? All right. Do I have a motion?
You'll need to vote on each of these separately, so I would recommend, if you would, take the staff report and look at the staff recommendation and make a motion if you choose to follow the staff's recommendation to grant conditional approval with those conditions. That's the easiest way for us to delineate. If there are other conditions you desire to impose or conditions that you feel are inappropriate, you can make a motion to pull that condition out or add another condition.
Understood. All right. All right, so on application 2303 Sierra, correct? Yes?
That's correct.
I'll make a motion to deny. Do I have a second?
Motion to deny the special exception for the subdivision.
The staff was making recommendations for approval, so you're making a motion for denial.
Do I have a second?
You're looking for a motion?
I make a motion, we accept.
Okay, let's be clear, the motion fails for lack of a second.
Okay. Motion.
Do I need to do that?
No,
Okay.
you're fine.
All right. All right. Do I have a motion?
Then I make a motion that special exception 2303 Sierra be approved with all staff recommendations here as listed.
All right. Do I have a second?
Staff recommendation.
Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? So two, and one.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right.
This will be application 2304 V. Victor.
All right, do I have a motion on application 2304 Victor?
And remember, this is the minimum cul-de-sac, and remember that we discussed the revision to reflect the required fire code.
Yep, to 96.
That's
96,
correct.
that's correct.
We have a motion.
I make a motion, we approve 2304V with the staff recommendations and also making this change about the, to a minimum of 96. And that is, you said asphalt to asphalt, inside the curb, correct?
Correct. So, and I forgot, I'm sorry for not mentioning that. After speaking with the fire marshal, he did say that it was asphalt to asphalt, not curb cut to curb cut. So it's just a drivable surface.
You drive, okay, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, do I hear a second?
Got a second with staff recommendations.
All right, we have a second. All in favor? Raise your right hand. All right, that's two. All opposed? Just me.
Okay.
All right.
And this one would be
Your final
application
variance.
2305 V.
Victor, correct? All right. we have a motion on application 23-05, Victor?
And that would be for the setback reductions.
Could you put that staff recommendation back for that particular one on my screen,
Scroll
please?
down. It's currently on
That's it.
the screen.
Slide up, that's it, it's on there.
So scroll up
Page
a little
7.
bit. There we go.
Keep coming.
Click one more.
It's on page 7.
Scroll down, Susan. What page you're in? There's staff recommendations on there already. Scroll down. That's page 7 right there. Yep, so they're going from a front yard setback of a required 25 feet to 20, a required side yard setback from 15 to 8, and a side corner lot setback from 35 feet with sewer to 10 feet.
Mr. Davidson, is this with your 200?
1 second. Have him, you want to come back up to the podium?
Is this having to do with your 295 homes, or is this relative to the 300 and some initially, this variance here? Does it apply to the 295 houses?
Which one are we on? Sorry,
The setback.
The setback variances.
yeah. It would
It's
be
only
the same for the-
295.
Yeah, the plan you see basically less homes, the lots will just end up being a little bigger, or we'll have extra open space, but yeah, we would maintain the same setbacks.
Okay,
Correct. Yeah.
thank you. Then I make a motion that we approve 2305V with all the staff recommendations.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Okay, a second with staff recommendations.
Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. There you go. Hey, Patricia. 2, 4.
Okay, 2-1.
Mr. Chairman, you voted against, correct?
I did.
Okay.
Correct.
Just checking.
All
All right, the special exception for those who are in the audience will come before the Board of Commissioners on March 23rd.
March 23rd.
As to the special exception, this body is only a recommending body, so the Board of Commissioners is the one that has the authority to approve. Okay?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the next case on the agenda this evening is application 23-05S Sierra. Chad L. Amon, please forgive me, as successor trustee to the Cliff Scott Children's Trust owner. Stephen L. Jones Esquire is the agent. 1015 and 1079 Rehoboth Church Road and 0 Dickerson Road, approximately 367.52 acres, located in land lot 74, 75, 86, and 87 of the 3rd Land District. The applicant is requesting a special exception to be allowed the use of a traditional design special exception single-family subdivision. The property is currently zoned AR1 Agricultural and Residential District. I believe the applicant is here, or the agent for the applicant is here, Mr. Stephen Jones.
1 second. Yeah, if you were here for the earlier applications and you want to go, feel free to. Have a good night. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you,
Jones,
Mr.
go
Chairman.
ahead.
Dr. Ledbetter. Let me make sure my mic's on. This is a,
Sorry, Mr. Jones, if you'll state your name and your address for the record, please.
thank you, Dr. Ledbetter. Stephen Jones, law firm of Taylor English Duma. My address is 1600 Parkwood Circle, Suite 200, Atlanta, Georgia, 30339. I'm here today on behalf of the applicant, which is Chad, and owner, which is Chad Amon, which just trustee of the Cliff Scott's Children's Trust. Next slide, please. What you have before you as the Board of Appeals is a special exception application. This is a companion application to a rezoning application, also encompassing the same properties. These properties front on Rehoboth Road, Rehoboth Church Road, and Dickerson Road. You'll see them highlighted on the screen for you. Collectively, they are 367.52 acres. The rezoning request, which was previously heard by the Planning Commission, this special exception follows. Both will dovetail at the Board of Commissioners. All the requests are for a special exception traditional subdivision, which will set aside a substantial area of green space in exchange, reducing lots into 1 acre size. Next slide, please. You'll see zoomed out. We'll come back to this slide later, but you'll see a substantial amount of subdivision, both road frontage and interior roads in the surrounding area in all directions. Next slide, please. Again, another slide, another view to orient you to the location of the parcels. Next slide, please. Current zoning of the property. It's currently zoned AR1, which, as your staff report will note, would permit single-family dwellings of 1,500 square foot, industrialized homes, 1,500 square foot, conservation subdivisions, agricultural use, and limited other uses. However, a rezoning is required to get to a more dense development. As currently zoned, development would be practically unfeasible with interior roads from an economic standpoint, resulting in a substantial amount of road frontage lots, which are undesirable on the roadways and also lead to a variety of issues with traffic, as well as safety with so many driveways being on so many roadways. Next slide, please. Here is the proposal. This is what is called Ash Farms. It is a 2 subdivision development with an upper portion and a lower portion. It would be 179 lots. The average lot size would be 1.34 acres, but the lot size when compared, the number of lots compared to the entire development, in other words, the density overall would be above 2 acres per lot. That's part of the special exception subdivision under 413 G double prime thereabouts. That's the trade-off. It's akin to a conservation subdivision, but operates a little differently. So you would have 145 lots on both Rehoboth Church and Rehoboth Roads. You'll see the entrances with red arrows highlighted there. The upper phase would be 34 lots entering through Dickerson Road. The reason for that is the development is bisected by Big Creek and surrounding setbacks and wetlands. That also, however, provides a unique opportunity for this tract to be developed using that as common open green space that's a natural water course or natural feature. Next slide, please. Just zooming in, this is one of the many open spaces throughout the development. You'll see here through the entrance off Rehoboth Road. Next slide, please. An additional set of open space you'll see between the phase dividing lines on the eastern side of the property. Next slide, please. Again, this is an overlay showing Big Creek as it relates to the different phases, and that a substantial amount of the lots would have backyards fronting on that open space, providing an amenity area. Next slide. So what you have currently, it's zoned AR1. That would permit development with 3 acre minimum lots. As the property currently sits, it has been within the Cliff Scott family. Again, this is a trust in favor of his children, which is administered by the trustee, who's the applicant. It has remained undeveloped and vacant throughout its existence. The proposed development would afford the trust and the beneficiaries of the trust a viable economic use of their property by allowing it to be developed under R1 with a special exception subdivision. It gets those lot size reduced, again, in exchange for the open space. Next slide, please. So about the open space on the traditional design special exception subdivision, your code requires 25%, which would be out of 300 plus acres, 91 acres. This plan provides for 34%, which is 127% of open space. That preserves water courses, green space, as well as natural habitat. Next slide, please. These are the elevations of the proposed homes that would be in there. Current builder that we have identified is currently building in Spalding, Coweta, and other counties. These homes would be in the price range of 400 plus. They're all going to be in the Craftsman style. Next slide, please. Here are a couple other elevations of illustrative homes that would be built. You'll see the Craftsman style with a mixture of materials, front and side entry garages, multiple hips on the roof. Again, the Craftsman style that is quite popular now. Next slide, please. And here are actual photos of some of those house plans, some of the plan elevations you previously saw. Next slide. Ms. Morales, if you'll go back to the overall concept plan. If you have any questions, concerns, board members would be happy to address those. Again, we'd ask you to approve this. Your staff has recommended a set of proposed conditions should you choose to recommend approval. The applicant consents to all of those conditions. If you would like me to recite those now, I'd be happy to, but your staff will address those. And to one of the questions earlier, one of those includes a rental restriction, which would be a homeowners association, which would be required, but would also enforce a rental cap among the houses.
Have any questions?
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to reserve the remainder of my time for rebuttal, if I may.
Understood.
Thank you.
Chairman, I would like to recommend that we move forward with citizens' comments first.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we have quite a number who have signed up this evening. Lanny Rigging, if you would please step forward, state your name and your address, please.
My name is Lainey Riggins. I live at 1016 Rehoboth Church Road. I'm directly across the street from this proposed subdivision. I know we spoke a lot last week about the roads, the noise, the lights, traffic, overcrowding the area. I will quickly reiterate that the roads cannot handle more traffic. They are not maintained whatsoever, much less maintained to have tractor trailers, dump trucks several times a day for the next 1 to 2 years while this proposed subdivision is being built. That is going to destroy them before you can even get a chance to add more people from the subdivision to the roads. Our schools do not have room for the potential large amount of children that comes with this. We are so short on bus drivers that the school system cannot even handle the amount of kids that we have as it is. Those are things that the county needs to fix before adding such a large amount of homes specifically to one area. You can compare it to other subdivisions all that you want to, but it will not be the same. Runaway Lakes, for example, is across the street. It has several 1 acre lots, but the agricultural presence is still there. You do not see the subdivision from the road as you're driving past it, and it doesn't even really feel like one when you're driving through it. It's surrounded by trees. All the houses have privacy. It has its lake that gives it the agricultural feel. None of the houses look alike. It's not what I call a throw-up subdivision where every 4th or 5th house looks the same. Every house in that subdivision across the street is unique in its own way. When they built that one, they did not bring the city to the country, which is what we feel like this builder is trying to do. Across the street from us is not heavily wooded. It would be open to the public eye and therefore taking away the privacy and the country feel for those living around it, those passing by, and those also living within it. If we cannot stop or at least lessen this mass idea of a subdivision, then I propose that they be required to plant a full tree line all the way around the open parts of the property. There needs to be a buffer. I could name a million reasons why every single one of us here moved to this area, none of which include to be close to such a mass-sized subdivision. Why take something so beautiful and completely destroy it? The land is zoned agricultural for a reason, because that is exactly what it is. If the subdivision is built on 1 to 2 acre lots, what happens to the unused land? I understand he was talking about some of the stuff there. Last week it was said walking trails. I don't see any of that on the map. Who's going to maintain these trails or this extra land? And I mean actually maintain it. To me, the green space is just an excuse to cram as many houses in and around the flood zone as you can, because they can't utilize it. So I say we find a compromise that can still help the county profit and grow, but think about us. Think about the people that are here right now that already live in this community that have to live next to this. We're asking you not to fail us. Instead of 179 houses on 1 acre lots, build 60 houses on 3 to 5 acre lots that are custom built homes, not spec homes, that you can sell with more land for more money. You still make money. You still bring value. You bring the value of our community up, not drag it down. Larger lots also gives children and teens more safe space of their own to play and grow up versus having little yards with no amenities.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Daryl Shoemaker.
Good evening. Daryl Shoemaker, 1060 Rehoboth Church Road. I also live right across the street from the proposed subdivision. The staff report indicates that they agree with a 2 acre minimum without a special exemption. But here we are asking for a special exemption. Also, the map that they provide, they're 1 acre lots, but they're here asking for 2 acre lots. So it's you give an inch, next week we'll take a mile. Where do we put a stop to this? So we're asking like a compromise, if this is the way it's gonna be, the Spalding County future development plan that was set in place says AR1 is 3 acre lots. It was made that for a reason, so please keep it for a reason. I built my home on a 4 acre tract. I went by the rules just as everyone else. Those lots will sell, trust me. We have the proposed airport coming to our area along with all these other warehouses. Please keep this part of that section community rural. There are not going to be 200 homes built and 200 families wanting to move in right away. Holiday Pass on Tomachichi Road has been undeveloped for years. So are we going to just cut in roads and leave it until the economy gets back up? That's something we need to think about. And they have proposed 5 house plans for all these. That's 38.5 houses that are going to look the same throughout this neighborhood. That's not good. And also, a conservation neighborhood is just another word for cluster homes because the land's unusable because it's a floodplain. I understand the family bought this land years ago like everybody else has a right. They took a risk buying this land. The floodplain is part of that land, but it is not our responsibility as citizens or your responsibility as the county to alter the zoning so they can make a profit. And part of variance requirements is not economical gain, and it shouldn't be. Also, I have a few concerns about, the gentleman stated that the less lots would be less desirable. Look at the area, 40 acre lots, 5 acre lots, 20 acre lots. People are buying them. It's awesome. And he also said it's unsafe due to there would be more traffic on that area. 200 more houses, let's just say times 3 cars. It's a lot of traffic. Thank you, and thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Deania Ray.
Good evening, board members. My name is Dina Ray, and I reside at 73 Parham Road. I'm here tonight in opposition of this special exemption application for a single-family neighborhood. What Mr. Jones did not say is the Planning Commission recommended denial for this rezone. So we're wondering about the traffic study. Has there been a traffic study for this property? And who's going to make those road improvements? Because we know that Spalding County is not maintaining the roads properly and all over the county, not just this area. The developer is also asking about the 2-acre lots. I blew this map up, and you can clearly see that this is not an average of 2 acres. This is an average of maybe 1.2 acres per lot. That's 179 homes, 300 cars extra on these roads. That's not very good. We should actually demand a rental cap of 5%. I've seen other cities do that. This is a lot of homes, and I think the HOA would be awesome to be able to cover 5% of that rental cap. And also, Ms. Morales, can you pull up the comprehensive plan on page 38 and 39? We're going to talk about a vision for the rural community. The rural community character area will boast a simple and quiet way of life with rural development that complements existing agricultural communities. The Board of Commissioners, the Planning Commissioners, has enforced the Tomachichi project, a lot of the warehousing. They have enforced this 2042 comprehensive plan on the Arthur K. Bolton Parkway as the employment corridor, and we would like consistency in this comprehensive plan. Page 38, I'm sorry. It talks about future development should be compatible with the rural character. This includes the use of conservation subdivisions to maximize the amount of open space in new residential developments. Larger lots are encouraged, but should be no less than 3 acres. No less than 3 acres. It needs to be consistent with the county's agricultural zoning classification. If you look at your section 504 in your zoning ordinance, you'll clearly see what it states about the minimum lot sizes, and that's again 3 acres. It also talks about reducing single-family residential zoning areas through the special exemption process in which we are here tonight, and it also says it's inconsistent with the intent of these areas. The general characteristics states that this area is characterized by agriculture and very low-density single-family residential uses. The development pattern includes larger areas of undeveloped or cultivated land with larger distances between buildings and deep setbacks with the roadways. If you can see, a lot of the low-density areas that they want to offer is wetlands. You know, we need a little bit more than that, you know. Natural areas include extensive tree cover and open space due to limited development, as well as our creeks, streams, and rivers. We're concerned about the environmental protection or the EPD concerns with the septic issues around these rivers and streams and creeks. Let me see what else we're going to talk about. Anyway, that's a lot of notes, but we would like for you guys to be consistent with your comprehensive plan. That's all we ask for, is some good conditions to protect these citizens and the taxpayers of this county. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry McNeely.
Jerry McNeely, 131 Cheehaw Road. I think this is really cut and dry, if you ask me. According to the comprehensive plan, that area is for 3-acre lots. I'm here because I already got $20,000 in an attorney trying to fight the previous board on Tomachichi Road, and I was told I should have did better homework when I bought my home. Now, because they had to go by their plan. Okay, now we come up here, now I'm hearing that they're going to do different on their plan. So which way are we going to have it? Are we going to compromise the plan now? But yet, I'm told I got to go by the plan. So I'm against this. I think it's cut and dry. You know, if they want to do a subdivision, 3 acres, let them do the subdivision, but it's following their plan. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you.
Joe Bill.
Joe Beal, 614 Swint Road, live in this area.
as it's on the map and shown and explained. Everything from Orchard Hill to the county line of Butts, from the county line below up to where the industrial line starts with 16. This is all rural agriculture land. I am one who's purchased my land in the last year, 15 acres, following the guidelines you've provided here, that this is the rules and this is what we're going to do. We expect that to be enforced on this vote like it was last week with the Zoning Planning Commission and then by the county commissioners. Now, I want to give you a number. This project as proposed is to generate $71.6 million in revenue for that developer. $71.6 million. It's a ridiculous number. It's great money if you can get it, and he's welcome to. All he has to do is go north of 16, buy some of that yellow land, and put this plan up there. It's great. Go do it. That's where we've said you can do that work, not here. Now, attorneys are attorneys. Real estate and land developers are what they do out west. We don't have attorneys involved in our real estate because it's simple for us to do. It should be simple to see that if I take that land, those 179 lots they've identified, put them into 8-acre groups, put a beautiful little farmhouse, if you follow me, with a little wraparound porch, even some sheds and a barn on 8 acres, sell it for $600,000. I'm going to generate $23.4 million in revenue, comply with this, make a beautiful community development. I'm going to have a green space with a real nice little farmer's market right there, where folks can even drive down from Atlanta and buy real food. $23.4 million is more than enough. We need you guys to back the plan. There's no debates. There's no discussions. This is the plan. Unfortunately, what they want to do doesn't fit. But if you can give up $71.6 million and trade that for $23.4, you got yourself a pretty good project here. But they need to change over. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Michael Gregory.
Michael Gregory, 177 Liberty Hill Road, that's Griffin address, but in beautiful Orchard Hill. I don't want to sound like I'm from the peanut gallery because I don't have the notes that everybody had, and they spoke really, very, very well. First things first, this county needs to be fixed before we build all these big brand new houses, because historically these roads in Spalding County are just thrown patchworks. These roads need to be fixed. I mean, the time needs to be taken, just like the lady said, with these, what's going to happen with these trucks? Bring all this wood, all these shingles. What's going to happen? It's going to tear up again. And when my wife has to run off on the side of the shoulder because somebody comes around the curve in her lane and busts the tire, and not only busts the tire but the rim, I can't call you guys to help me fix it. I got to fix it. There's a lot of passion in this room, I know, but we need to do the right thing. There's bigger fish that needs to be fried. You and the Board of Commissioners, y'all need to figure out why people want to dump. Right now, if y'all need a sofa, what else, a TV, if y'all need a bedroom set, go to the north end of Liberty Hill Road and get it. Let me put some trail cameras up, and I'll be happy to help you. Do something with the meth heads walking around. It don't make sense to build these, Rob, been a long time, don't make sense to build these great big old houses when we got to fix the county first. And like I said, I'm not trying to sound like I'm from the peanut gallery, but it does not make sense. We got a half-stocked Dollar General at best, half-stocked. To go anywhere to Griffin, the lights aren't in sync. But that's anyway. It's just adding time. It's adding time. Just please, y'all gonna do what you got to do. I understand, but just
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Yes,
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mike Less.
Michael Slade Gregory, 177 Liberty Hill Road. Kind of agree with everything that has been said as far as traffic. I mean, the condition of the roads is, I'll say this, my grandpa used to tell me a joke. Historically, Spalding County had some of the first roads in the state of Georgia. As of right now, most of them are still the original. If you take, coming from me, in my background and work that I do, you're going to haul all that equipment out there to grade that land on the lowboy trailer. Not only is the company that's hauling it going to have to pay money because they're going to blow tires right and left, you're going to tear that road up even more because you're going to haul a 110,000 pound excavator on that road that's barely fit for a 10,000 pound car. You already have people who don't know how to drive coming across when they turn right or left onto Rehoboth Church from Rehoboth Road. No one pays attention to the stop sign. No one pays attention to what traffic's coming. They just and go. We already on the chain of dirt roads down there with Hereford Farm, Liberty Hill, Etheridge Mill, Buck Creek Road. That chain of dirt roads is already used as a playground. You cannot drive through there safely. I've been ran off the road. I got a fixed front end of my truck. I've been ran off the road from people drifting and going 96 miles an hour down that road. You don't. So all we're going to do is increase the number of people coming through. Now, granted, if you want to make, if you want to build a subdivision, keep to the rules. 3 acres at minimum. I'd go to 10 acres. I'd buy it if I had the money, but I'm broke. But, I mean, there's a lot of maintenance that needs to be done in Spalding County before Spalding County needs to grow. I mean, the city of Griffin's already slap full. No matter where you go on a road system in Spalding County, it is slap full of vehicles. You can barely get in. There's like 6 good restaurants to eat in Griffin, and you can't get in them half the time because they're packed to the gills. But, I mean, I'm sure I speak for everyone else when I talk safety and traffic concerns.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Gwendolyn Williams.
Good evening, guys. My name is Gwen Williams. I'm at 583 Barnesville Road. I'm not going to reiterate what everyone else has said, but I came to this community in 2009. I'm on a little 9-acre parcel on Barnesville Road. Dickerson Road is directly in front of my entry gate. It is currently a dead-end road. I used to go to the planning meetings, what our future plan was for this community, and the people that have built out there, there's some really nice homes that have gone out in this community. And they're on large parcels of land, and people have put some your common people have put some hard-earned money into developing a home in a community that your future planning map dictated would be a rural agricultural community in field. And I understand that growth is inevitable. I'm a real estate agent. I get it. I'm also aware of all the projected growth and development at Exit 205. And there's going to be a need for housing to accommodate the people that are servicing those industries. The applicant's requesting that the current AR1 zoning, currently a minimum 3-acre lot requirement, be changed to R1, which is a 2-acre minimum lot requirement. But they're really just taking the first step for a special exemption for 1-acre lot requestment. And they've got, so that they can put 179 homes out here. They're looking at 200 square foot minimum homes, which based on market average, we should expect to contain 3 large or 4 average sized bedrooms. And I can surmise from the fact that they're wanting 1-acre lots that they want as much bang for their buck as they can get. So we're going to go with 4-bedroom homes, I'm sure. That would mean that we would have 179 4-person septic systems within this wetland of Buck Creek and these streams and creeks right here. The Georgia average of vehicles per home is 2. That would be adding a projected 358 vehicles to Rehoboth Church, Barnesville, Dickerson, Swint, and High Falls Road, all of which are already in deplorable conditions and in heavy need of repair or repaving. I would welcome a community that adhered to the current zoning, which would allow a 60-home development of 3-acre lots. But 179 homes on 1 acre lots is driven by greed and not need. The future development plan has already outlaid what the development should be. I am asking that the applicant's request for rezoning be denied and that the 3 acre minimum be adhered to. I'm also asking that rental restrictions, HOA, and architectural guidelines that don't have vinyl siding on the side of the homes be placed in mandate. I think my time's up, so I'm going to be a kind steward.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Jerry Atkins.
I am Terry Akins on 127 Liberty Circle. I want to address a problem that I think this should be 3 acres and no less. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because of septic systems. You got septic systems that go on to smaller acreage, and say if there's a failure after someone purchases this piece of land and moves in, there's a possibility of failure of the system. So you gotta have a large enough tract to build, to put in a second system and hope there will be enough to do it on. And, you know, these lots have to be a perk test done to show you where the system's gonna go. They tell you where the spot is that the septic tank is gonna go in that acreage. And 2 water wells are maybe needed. They're probably gonna be county water in this system. But, and they could be that these developments put in personal systems, like they build a system that takes care of the sewage. But the sewage system, if you've never seen one, I've sold this supplies for years. That was my job. I was in sales. I sold infiltrator, easy flow, tanks, you name it, I've done it, and other systems that need to go on land that wouldn't perk, that we put a system in. Now, I wasn't a contractor, but I was in sales, and I sold this supplies to septic contractors and well companies. But I think it's very important that we get this lot size, if we go forward with this, they go forward with this in this plan and development, that it's be 3+ acres. And that's what I think needs to be done. Now, as far as traffic, I know they've already spoke about this, some of you have, but I think it's very important that we have these roads that are in bad shape now not being maintained, and trash on the right-of-ways of the roads and all of this is not being taken care of. Spalding County is not taking care of this. And I think this needs to be addressed. I know some weeks back in the headlines of Griffin Daily News that there was a meeting and they expressed that they were going to take care of this code enforcement laws about trash throughout Spalding County. And now I think they need to address the roads too. That's not, you know, and that's a big issue. Because I think before we move forward with building and growth, we need to attack making our county look better, better roads and better, you know, cleaner areas, you know.
Yes, sir.
And I just think of that, but you go from an AR1 zone to a 2A1, then that's residential. And I think that these houses need to be a certain.
Mr. Akins, hey, your 3 minutes is up.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, but hey, thank you though. We got.
I like to talk.
I know. I know. So do I.
And I like to talk about Spalding County.
Yes, sir. I know. Thank you.
George Warren.
My name is George Warren. I reside at 455 Buck Creek Road. My big concern with this project is the transportation infrastructure. If you go out and look at Rehoboth Church Road right now, it has so many cracks in it, it looks like somebody took a jigsaw puzzle and put it together just to make that roadway. During the summer, you can see grass growing up through those cracks. You're going to have 179 parcels in there, 358 plus vehicles being added to that road, Rehoboth Road, each day. On Rehoboth Road right now, between South Walker's Mill and Rehoboth Middle School, the road is so cracked just before you get to that little bridge. Every time we have a rain, more cracks occur, more potholes occur, and right now, even with no rain, past few weeks, we have potholes all over the place on Rehoboth Road. The transportation infrastructure in that area will not handle the amount of traffic additionally going to be put on those two roads until proper maintenance is done. It's a patchwork quilt right now. There's patches all over both of those roads, and it's just going to get worse if you put that much traffic on those roads. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Brian Black.
Mr. Black? Next.
Okay. Tony Edgar.
My name is Tony Edgar. I live at 140 Liberty Hill Road. The Gregorys, my neighbors, they said everything. That road is horrible. It's cut through between Swint and Rehoboth Church. People fly down that road. All the dirt roads are cut throughs, and people don't respect the speed that you're supposed to go through down there. Kids do play. They're going to have to cut back playing down there and walking the dirt roads and enjoying the time because it's going to just be crazy. Not only that, they said something about the furniture that's been dumped. It's been sitting there 2 weeks. It's been reported. Nobody's come out there and done anything about it. I mean, we've got dumpsters here in town that's got personal home items sitting out there because the bulk bins at the recycling centers have been taken away. And so they don't want to go and pay to take on everything to the landfill. So they're just dumping them on the sides of the roads. It looks awful out there. Also, every hunting season, we've got dead deer carcasses all out on our road. Anything, they just leave everything dead out there. We have dogs and cats dropped off. We can get up any time in the morning, and there'll be a strange animal there, and we can't even get the people from the animal shelter to come out and get them. And they interfere with our own pets and everything. And it's just going to be crazy, all the extra traffic going down there. And the roads already, of course, aren't maintained anywhere. And then the kids come, spin off on the dirt roads, make huge potholes, make it undrivable. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, keep it at a minimum of 3 to 5 acres. And the requirements everybody else has just recently built out there, what else is coming in needs to be kept up to that same standard and everything. That's all I have.
Thank you.
David Lynch.
David Lynch, 185 North Walker's Mill Road. I would ask that you would vote this down, deny this application. In your comprehensive plan, 2024 comprehensive plan, in the introduction statement, it on and on says respect a careful balance of rural and land preservation and residential development. I think we may be overlooking that statement here if this goes forward. Ensure and enhance existing quality of life. I believe that one's out the window. Now this is in your packet. Key themes, under the key themes statement, focus rural character preservation, particularly on the county's western and southeastern areas. That one went out the window. Page 2, on a scale chart, survey of goals, 80% of the people, when the 2024 packet was being assimilated and had all your meetings everywhere, 80% of the people in that chart wanted balanced community growth and natural resource preservation, protection. Page 15, here, the vision statement. Spalding County will be a county of choice thanks to well-timed, targeted growth, housing, jobs, service amenities, livability, vibrancy, historic, and rural charm that makes our county unique. That one went out the window. Page 29, Planning and Commission and Board of Commissioners use development map to consider if proposed development is consistent with county's development vision. I don't know if we're too consistent right here on this proposal. Page 38, your rural community character area. And where did I circle it? Right here it says AR, zoning classifications, density, neutral zoning or smaller lots, record is appropriate from one single resident zoning district to another. However, a reduction in single-family residential zoning district lot sizes from 2 to 1, though the special exception process is inconsistent with the intent of these areas. Okay. Moving on, page 40, section 3.
Sir.
Sorry about that.
No, thank you.
See me after the meeting, I'll give you some more notes.
Allison Smiley.
My name is Allison Smiley. I live at 2078 Rehoboth Church Road, and I have for the last 32 years. And before that, the 22 years, I lived at 2155 Rehoboth Church Road. I've lived in the area my whole life. I'm old enough to remember when this proposed land was Alton Alexander's farm. I remember being on the school bus looking out at those rolling fields and thinking it was the most beautiful place on earth, and I still do. It's not quite as pretty as when Alton had his crops out there, but it's beautiful. If you haven't been out there, seen it with your own eyes, you should vote no on the special exception. You need to go see it. You need to go see what they're building across the road. 5 to 10 acre mini farms all around. People will buy it. You know why? They're not making any more land, and they're certainly not making any more land like this. It's beautiful. People will come out here. If you build the bigger homes, you'll have bigger tax revenue, and I know that's what it comes down to, the money sometimes, but we only get one chance to develop Spalding County. Let's do it right. We got the landfill. We got trying to get the new warehouses. Okay, that's along 16. It's a done deal. I was here arguing against those things too, but this is special. This is different. It's beautiful. There are no, as an earlier speaker said, there are no barriers. It's very out in the open. You're going to see houses willy-nilly, fronts and backs of houses, all different directions. The thing to remember, we are not asking for a special exception. The developer is asking for the special exception. All we want to do is abide by the AR1 zoning that is currently here. We all did. We're doing a real estate transaction. We're abiding by the AR1. These people need to do the same as well. I share the concerns, the impact on Buck Creek environmentally, the schools, the roads, what kind of homes is this going to turn into? Are they on slabs? Will it become Section 8, mostly rentals? I would like to note with others that the planning and zoning board saw it our way, unanimously voted against it. So we ask this body, we will ask the commissioners, please don't rezone it, no special exceptions, just abide by the rules as set forth. And I would ask in my closing remarks, not everybody wants to get up and speak, but if you are here in opposition to this special exemption, please raise your hand. That's a sea of hands. We ask you to listen to those hands.
All right, Sarah Smiley.
Hello. Yes, I'm Sarah Smiley. I live also at 2078 Rehoboth Church Road. And that's my mom. So I'm the second generation growing up in this community and seeing this land my whole life. I've seen that picturesque field and the red barn on it and my church's steeple there peeking right across the trees. I know it can't stay that way. I know that it's going to get developed. But I would ask that you just reject this special exception. We want to keep the character of the community. We want to set the precedent for that future development. And we just want to keep Griffin a place people will be. I just ask that you would comply with the comprehensive plan that's been being, that has been mentioned. These mini farms on the large lots, as people are saying, that many of these people live in, they're beautiful homes. And we just ask that you keep it that way and keep the development as it has been planned. Upholding our rules that we've already set will help not only this specific farm, but like set that precedent for future development, what we want the character of Griffin to look like. Our area is growing, we know that. Even 5 years ago when I started dating my boyfriend, he was coming to Griffin, and it was named a suburb of Atlanta online. It is becoming that. So people will buy those homes. People will buy the 3 or 5 acre lots that everyone's been mentioning. And finally, just as a student who grew up in the Griffin K through 12 system, I've seen a lot of my peers not want to come back to Griffin. They want to leave and not return. But I just want Griffin to be a place that people want to come to, and in order to do so, we need to keep the rural character. People aren't moving to Griffin for the suburbs. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Elizabeth Smiley.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Smiley, and I am speaking on behalf of my family that lives at 2078 Rehoboth Church Road. I don't have a ton to say that hasn't already been said. I just agree with all the infrastructure concerns as well as with the culture of the community concerns. I also think that there are a lot of issues that haven't seemed like they've been thought about yet. I mean, there's not even reliable Wi-Fi out there, so like, who's gonna move out there with no reliable Wi-Fi? Yeah, so DSL that I can't even work remotely on. So that's one point. 2, I also think agricultural feel, like 1 acre lots is keeping an agricultural feel, like that doesn't make sense to me personally. If I want to move to a cookie cutter suburb, I can move anywhere in the world. If I want to move somewhere nice and beautiful, I could move here right now. There are houses across the street that are being built. They look good, they look nice, they're on larger lots. No one's saying no development, they're just saying like no, none of this, none of 2 types of homes. Yeah, that's a really, really agricultural feel is 2 cookie cutter types of homes. That's all from me. I don't know. I'm just opposed.
Thank you.
Stephen Smiley.
Stephen Smiley, 2078 Rehoboth Church Road, with some of these other people. I grew up in Smyrna, very, very close to running around 1600 Parkwood, and you couldn't get me back unless you dragged me forcibly. And I run around there every day for work, and I moved out here when I got married, and I love the rural feel. Love the development that's taken place so far across from the proposed side of the subdivision. And we sold some family land was sold recently, and they did development similar to the development that's taken place across, which are the mini farms. Buck Creek has developed into those mini farms. I think I agree with everyone who's spoken that people will buy those. There's more than one way to develop the land, and we need to stick to the current zoning. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Tammy Lyles.
Hello, my name is Tammy Lyles. I live at 82 Dickerson Road, Griffin, Georgia. I am on Dickerson Road. There are 9 of us on Dickerson Road. So if you go through the end of our road and add 30 to 40 houses using our road, that's going to take away everything that we've ever had out there. My children, I've lived there for 30 years. I raised my children there. I now have grandchildren. The little boy, well, he's gone now, but Mr. Gregory with the orange sunglasses on his head, he was 2 years old, and I was babysitting him when they paved my road. And he stood there and watched the dump trucks from my screen door and talked about it. That's our homes out there, and we get passionate and we get loud, but it's where we live. And now my mother lives in an in-law suite on my home. I'm an empty nester, and my mother is out there, and she's lost her vision. And I just wonder what kind of ruckus this many homes could bring to our area. And I'm like her, if you have never driven out there, you definitely need to. Because sometimes when I need to have a little talk with Jesus, I ride out through there, and that is the most beautiful, picturesque ride. And I'm going to hate to see it changed. Mr. Dickerson, who first lived there, who is my neighbor, his great-grandfather named that road. He made that road with a tractor. With a mule. Sorry, not a tractor. With a mule. He, plowed that road, and they sold it off bit by bit, however it be. There are only 9 of us houses there. So if 9 of us had, 2 cars, there's 18 cars on that road. If you add, 40 houses that would use access to our road? And furthermore, we weren't even notified this was happening. We had heard rumors, we had called, and we had been told they were not going to use access on our road. So we ask you all to please think about this. When I closed on my property, and I said this last time and I'm going to say it again, when I closed on my property, my lawyer looked at me and said, take care of this. They're not making any more of it. And just like them, I'm telling you, take care of this. There's so little bare, virgin land left. And we really need to be careful how we utilize it, because we don't want to be another town. We can do all the studies we want to. We don't want to be another town. We want to be different. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that's all that have signed up this evening.
Right. Staff report. Oh, we're gonna do staff report.
Do you want to give the applicant rebuttal time before the staff report?
That's fine. On the clock. 3 minutes, please.
Moment while she loads the PowerPoint. Thank you.
You better get talking.
Chairman, board members, if you would go to the overall PowerPoint. Just want to make 2 quick points right there. You'll see along the perimeter, along all the roadways, you saw a lot of folks talked about seeing into the subdivision and looking at the back or front of houses, whatever have you. The applicant and the civil engineer have actually proposed and designed a buffer around the entire subdivision that would be planted. So it would provide a visual screen addressing that concern. And secondly, a lot of folks talked about septic tanks and the viability of septic tanks. The state of Georgia and the Spalding County Health Department regulate septic tanks. The minimum size for a septic tank lot here is 1 acre, and you have to have a soil test with a backup drain field to get any permit for an on-site septic system. So don't see that as a concern. Again, that's a regulation of the health department. That's not a zoning issue. With that, ask you to approve this application consistent with staff's recommended conditions. If you have any other questions, be happy to address those at this time. Thank you as always for the opportunity to appear before you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. No questions from me. You have any questions? All right.
Mr. Chairman, before Eva does the staff report, this staff report is a little different because the rezoning application had to go through the Planning Commission. The special exception application has to come through you. So what you have in front of you is the staff recommendation report that we prepared for the Planning Commission, so you can see what that says. And then you have a separate recommendation regarding the special exception. And then we hope that this provides the Board of Commissioners, when this gets to them, with a consolidated staff report and recommendation where they can see everything that happened below in one single report. So with that, Eva, if you would pick up only on page 4, dealing with the special exception.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So the applicant is seeking residential development on a subject property with a net density development of one dwelling per 2.5 acres. The comprehensive plan and future land use map identifies the subject property for future development as laying within the rural community character area. Comp plan, page 38. The characteristics of the rural community character area are rural community areas are categorized by agricultural and very low-density single-family residential use. Future development should be compatible with the rural character. This includes the use of conservation subdivisions to minimize the amount of open space in new residential development. Oopsie, my time's up.
All right, you heard the bell.
This includes the use of conservation subdivision to maximize the amount of open space in new residential development. Larger lot size are encouraged, but should not be less than 3 acres, which is consistent with the county's agricultural zoning. Density neutral zoning for smaller lots of record is appropriate, i.e. from one single-family residential zoning district to another. However, a reduction in single-family residential zoning district lot size throughout the special exception process is inconsistent with the intent of these areas. With that being said, based on the policy set by the comprehensive plan, which finds one acre lot in rural community character area to be inconsistent with the intent of the area, staff recommends denial of the special exemption application. Should the Board of Appeals recommend approval of the special exemption, staff recommends that the following conditions be imposed, and they read as follow. A, net density of the development on subject property shall not exceed 1 dwelling per 2 acres. The number of residential lots shall not exceed 179 lots.
Where are you reading? Yeah, where are you reading from? You need to pull it up so that it's matching.
It's not matching?
Not
I'm
on
on
the
page,
overhead.
I'm on page 6.
Yeah,
Scroll
but
down.
what's being shown on the screen is not matching.
Okay, scroll down.
Thank you.
That's where I'm at right there. Sorry about that. All right. I'll pick back up where I was. B, the number of residential lots shall not exceed 179 lots. The subdivision shall be limited to traditional design and shall comply with all developments and design requirements set forth by UDO section 413G double prime 2A. No vinyl siding should be used on the exterior of any dwelling. Prior to the hearing conducted on the application before the Board of Commissioners, the developer shall consult with Spalding County Public Works Department to assess whether the improvements on Rehoboth Church Road and Dickerson Road will be required as a result of development on the subject property and the degree to which contribution from the developer shall be imposed. E, prior to approval of the final plat, the developer should present proposed documents to create a homeowners association for the development. F, prior to approval of the final plat, the developer shall present restrictive covenants which restrict the rental of dwelling to 10% of the total dwellings in the subdivision based on the number of units constructed at the time. Prior to the hearing before the Board of Commissioners, the developer should present proposed elevations for the dwellings to be built in the subdivision and will provide appropriate agricultural and aesthetic designs requirements which shall be made a condition of zoning as required by UDO section 413G double prime 2A IV 2. The developer should reserve space at the entrance into the subdivision from both Rehoboth Church Road and Dickerson Road for a landscape entry where appropriate signage designated the subdivision commensurate with the design, architecture, and aesthetic character of the subdivision, and shall provide plans for the review and approval of such signage by the Board of Commissioners. And I, the conditions imposed on the development of the subject property shall continue to apply to it in the event of transfer to a third party or successor of development.
And if I could follow that with just a comment, the recommendation is based on the comp plan that you have heard discussed. It's been reported to you accurately, and that recommendation is to deny based upon the comp plan. The conditions have been added simply because the Board of Commissioners is not bound. The Board of Commissioners can make decisions that it chooses, provided they are constitutional. And because we do not know what they will do, we proposed a list of conditions in the event they decide to approve it, rather than run the risk that approval could be done at that level without conditions. But the recommendation is to deny based upon the comp plan.
Understood.
Mr. Galloway, is this 2302Z, is it being before the zoning board? Is it, or is this something that's open?
The rezoning application was heard last week by the Planning Commission, and they voted to recommend denial of rezoning by a vote of 5-0.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions of the staff? Do we have a motion? Now, we're, did you say the special exemption 2305S is first? Or?
Mr. Chairman, this would be a motion for application 2305S, the case of Chad L. Amon as successor, trustee to the Cliff Scott Children's Trust, owner with Stephen L. Jones Esquire, agent, 1015 and 1079 Rehoboth Church Road and 0 Dickerson Road, approximately 367.52 acres located in land lots 74, 75, 86, and 87 of the 3rd Land District. The applicant is requesting a special exception to be allowed for the use of a traditional design special exception single-family subdivision. The property is currently zoned AR1, agricultural and residential district.
And this is the only application pertinent to that property before you tonight. It's not like the previous application.
Okay, do I have a motion on 2305S? Because I am in agreement with the planning board, I make a motion to deny.
I do too, since the acre is an issue.
Yes, ma'am. So, do I have a second?
I second it.
A second. All in favor to deny?
Deny.
All right, 23.
Give just a second.
Folks, this goes to the Board of Commissioners. Remember, this goes to the Board of Commissioners on the 23rd.
On the 23rd.
March 23rd.
On the
at 6
23rd.
o'clock.
Can you give just a second so that they can leave and ask them to be quiet? as they
Yeah,
leave?
if everybody could, just keep it down as you go. Please take it outside. If you're not part of this. You can't come up to it.
Mr. Chairman, the next
Come up,
case,
it's not open. No.
no, sir, we're still in open session.
Yeah,
Mr.
we're still in
Chairman,
session, please, everyone.
Please vacate the facility quietly,
You can
please.
go. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, the next case for consideration is application 2307 V. Victor. Please forgive me. The next case for consideration is application 23-06 V. Victor. Jack's Land 6 LLC, owner Jessica Elder, agent, 1328 Cowan Road, approximately .79 acres located in land lot 93 of the 3rd Land District. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum front setback from the required 70 feet to a minimum of 40 feet to keep them off of the floodplain. This property is currently zoned R4, Single Family District.
Do we have anybody sign that?
We do, but is the applicant here?
The applicant's not here.
The applicant is not
Oh,
here.
you are?
Oh,
You're on behalf of that.
Okay. All right.
Are
I
you
was
Mr.
unaware.
Hunter Stubbs?
No, sir, I'm Jody Spivey.
Okay, please step forward if you don't mind. And if you'll state your name and your address, please.
My name is Jody Spivey. I live at 135 Wills Way in Fayetteville, Georgia. I work for the company, for the actual builder that's requesting the variance.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
You mind telling us about your case, please?
It's the last lot of the subdivision, Shearbrook, and it just happens to be that that particular lot was in a floodplain, and we're requesting the setback be moved so we could pull the house forward to get it out of the floodplain.
Okay. That's it, standard. You got any questions for?
I'm just wondering on this picture that we have here, exactly where the house is gonna sit. In that, what are you talking about here, putting the house?
Please do.
Please go back. If you could go back to that one, I'll point out where the house is gonna be. The house is gonna sit approximately in this area right here.
Okay,
But as it is right now, with the setback of 70 foot, then it pushes the back of the house back into the floodplain. So we're just trying to pull it out enough to get the house on the line.
and that's just, there's no other houses within the close proximity of that?
No, sir, this is of course the floodplain easement that comes through here into the neighborhood.
Yeah,
If you could pull the map down, there's an entranceway right on the other side of those two houses there. And then this road here comes down. This is the easement. And then we have two other homes that are existing right here. already.
okay, so that line on the left is not a roadway, that is a landline.
This one here.
No, the one where it says 864, that one right there,
Those
that one,
elevation
yes.
lines.
That is the road, that's Cohen Road.
Oh, that is a road?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
Yes, sir.
So there's no other houses fronting on that road that's in that close proximity?
Just on this side of the floodplain.
I see, okay.
We have two lots that they're currently already built.
So that would not affect the aesthetics of
No,
the
sir.
vision line?
No, sir.
Okay.
There'd be no effect on any other home in the area.
Okay.
All right, I'll move forward with the staff report.
There is someone who, nope, please do. There is no one who has signed up.
Okay.
If there's no other questions for the gentleman, then yeah, we'll move on to the staff report.
And I do have a revised site plan if you want to see that, where the house actually sets in accordance with the floodplain.
I just want to make sure that it would not stick out too far, that it would impair the vision of some other houses or something.
No, sir.
Okay, that was my only thought.
No, the closest driveway is probably 100 yards.
Oh, okay,
And then the entrance to the neighborhood on the other side is about another 100 yards away.
okay.
Yes, sir, thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
The property is currently zoned R4, single family, a residential property. After doing a site visit of the property, we did also make a notice of the floodplain. And after looking at, the leftover land, the applicant is requesting a variance, of course, based on a hardship presented by the existing floodplain on the lot. Staff sees no conflict in the approval of this variance as it will interline with the existing development around it. Now, we are asking for a conditional approval of the application. The first one would be vinyl siding should be prohibited, cement, fiberboard, stone, stucco, brick, or real wood should be used on the facades. Homes should be a minimum of 1,750 square feet of heated space, with the first floor being a minimum of 1,250 square feet. And that will bring it up in compliance with the properties around it. and square footage and also materials used.
Okay, understood. Any questions of the staff? I don't. Do we have make a motion on, the 23-06, Victor?
Make a motion with staff recommendations.
Second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right. Thank you, sir.
We're good?
Yes, sir.
Thank you all for your time.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the next case for consideration is application 23-07B Victor, WCWD Griffin LLC, CO Patrick Paget, owner, Harvey Pinkleton, agent, 424 Odell Industrial Way, approximately 1 acre located in land lot 108 of the 2nd District. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the side setback from the required 30 feet to a proposed 10 feet. The property is currently zoned C2 manufacturing.
Is that, I think, are you with the applicant? Yeah. Okay.
Right.
State your name and address, please.
Hunter Stubbs, 787 Shady Lane. And that WCWD.
I'm sorry, what was your name again, please?
Hunter Stubbs. So we're requesting the variance to reduce the setback from 30 to 10 for pretty much just for storage for our parts. We build police and fire vehicles. Right now, we're overflowing in our manufacturing side, and we just pretty much just affecting our day-to-day. So we're asking to get the 40 by 42, pretty much structure. It'll just be, it won't be heated, cooled. It'll just be, have a bay door, and it'll just be for part storage. Check with our neighbor, Johnson Brothers Construction. He has a letter here that says it will not affect him anyway. So, he'd be in favor of the variance to help us get the extra storage, so.
Okay.
Any questions?
Understood. All right. Any questions of Mr. Hunter? Nope. Staff? Thank you.
All right, like the representative of the applicant stated, they are requesting to be, for their side setback to be reduced from 30 feet to 10 feet. The applicant will be adding additional square footage to the left of the existing building and therefore will not be in conformance with the current requirements if they don't request a variance. Staff sees no negative impact of the approval of the request variance as it will be a positive impact on the commercial development currently on the lot and provide a enclosed area for stored materials and will not have a negative impact on the abutting lots. This will make sure that they don't have no unenclosed storage, providing space for them to store their materials in. Staff recommends approval of this application.
All right. Any questions of the staff? No? We have a motion on 23-07. Victor?
Make a motion we approve.
I second. All in favor? All right. Next order of business.
It would be minutes.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the next order is consideration of the approval of minutes for the November 10, 2022 and the February 9, 2023 minutes.
Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve.
I have a question concerning that. Since I was not here, I have to recuse myself from that, therefore you don't have a quorum.
That's right.
That's correct.
As with me.
Right,
I
you
was
were.
gonna say
Is that correct?
I believe the rules provide that you have to have a majority of vote of those present and voting
Okay.
if you have a quorum, which would allow you, I know that's the BOC rule tucked away in a little red folder.
That is correct. So you would have to table this for the next session.
Okay.
Because I can't vote.
That's correct.
Yeah, and I wasn't here.
I mean, I was not there.
I make a motion that we table this until the next meeting.
All right. Motion to table November 10th and February 9th. I second it.
Okay.
All in favor of the table? Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, next order of business.
Board member comments.
Oh, board comments? I have none. Thank you.
Ms. Patricia, you have any board member comments?
No.
No? No, ma'am?
No.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Please. Adjourn.
8:23.
8:23.
Thank you.
I do have something to say though, since we're over just talking. We might